Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 13 articles in this episode for you. All the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. The first one here is off of BizPack Review. News you can't make up. Attorney arrested at the border for drug smuggling. Does this mean Trump was more right than he ever thought about drugs, gangs, and criminals crossing over the southern border? Drug smuggling is a major problem at our southern border, and we also know that Mexico has a famously corrupt government, but we discovered actually engaging in drug smuggling himself. This month, U.S. officials in San Diego got a shock of their lives when they arrested a Mexican national trying to smuggle drugs across the border. After identifying the suspect, officials discovered they had arrested Edgar, Attorney General for the western Mexican state of USA Today reported. Federal officials indicated Vitia, age 46, with conspiracy to smuggle cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine across the border at San Diego, where he is now being held. So a copy of the where he's been arrested. Gracious. As Attorney General, Vitia is the top law of enforcement official in Nayarit, a state in western Mexico between the cities of and Puerto Vallarta, the paper notes. Mexican officials said the arrest was news we did not expect and noted that they had no other information until U.S. officials released more information. You know, they say if you catch one rat, there's usually a bunch more hiding, so, you know, iceberg. The next one they have is BizPack Review. Seriously, try that again. And took time to fact check Sean Spicer's quip, salad dressing. CNN has no sense of humor. Press Secretary Sean Spicer cracked a joke about Russian salad dressing. The folks at CNN must have taken it personally and felt duty-bound to fact check it. Video of Sean saying this at the press conference, and it's his Russian dressing on his salad tonight. Somehow that's a Russian connection, he said, making a point that news media have lately become obsessed with a Trump-Russian connection. Is a valuable tool when illustrating a point, unless your name is CNN and you fact check it. In this case, CNN smugly reported that Russian dressing isn't actually Russian at all. Associate editor for the Media Research Center reported, seriously? Clueless CNN fact check Spicer's Russian dressing joke. CNN's fact checking became funnier than Spicer's salad dressing quip. Somebody posts here on Twitter, you gotta laugh. And another one says, when a cable network is failing, what do they have to lose? Another one says, saddest part is they probably think it was good analysis and place. Aren't there grown-ups anymore? Another one, oh my goodness. Another one just says, blah, idiots. Fact checking to ever greater heights, something CNN missed. Only 988 islands in the Southern Island dressing. And use CNN's own catchphrase against the cable network. It says, this. CNN got spiced and they did it to themselves. The next one here is off of, let's see, what is it off of? Vacations, it says. And I mean, I cannot make this stuff up. Oregon tax all vehicles over 20 years old. Oregon plans to tax all vehicles over 20 years old. Our friend over at Eric clued us into a bill that was just introduced in Oregon, which imposes a $1,000 tax vehicles, including your motorcycle, over 20 years old. The tax is to be paid every 5 years in perpetuity. The following here. For planned obsolescence to work, conveyor belt rolling, and most of all, prevent anyone from getting off. This is a problem if people cling to their old cars instead of regularly trading them in, ideally to be crushed for new ones, hopefully. But how to get rid of the old cars when people decline to get rid of them voluntarily? Democratic politicians in Oregon have just the thing. It's the House Bill 2877, and if it becomes law, it will impose heavy taxes on cars 20 years old or more to the tune of $1,000 payable every 5 years in perpetuity. Means antique vehicle registration tags for the vehicle. The antique tags, of course, cost extra, and once registered as an antique, the vehicle may no longer be legally driven regularly, but only occasionally to to parades and shows, and so on. It's one step away from drilling holes in the engine block and turning the car into a static display. The legislation would make older cars either functionally useless or usuriously expensive to drive. If you insist on clinging, a grand jury, or a grand every 5 years, so 2,000 every 10 years. 4 every 20 years in exchange for the privilege of being allowed to keep your car. Have mercy. The next one here is off of Natural News, and it says, Chelsea Clinton warns global warming causes diabetes. To the far left, the science regarding so-called global warming and man-caused climate change is settled, and the only thing left to discuss now is just how much our economy to wreck and who should be spared from such economic devastation. After all, we can't have enough power plants, automobiles, and commercial jets to serve everyone. But the reality is there is no science to support the claim that humankind is causing the planet to heat up and alter the natural change of the weather. This has been proven time and time again through the exposure of fake data used to prove global warming, as well as admissions by globalists that the entire issue has been fabricated as a way of destroying capitalism and controlling the world's population. The alt-left also has a tendency to blame the goofiest things on climate change. For instance, in recent days, former Vice President Al Gore, who has made tens of millions of dollars pushing the climate change hoax, actually blamed on climate change. Former President Obama blamed terrorism on climate change. And now, former first daughter Chelsea Clinton, that paragon of climate science, says climate change causes diabetes. You just can't make some things up. As noted by the American Mirror, Clinton took to Twitter recently to express her concerns that climate change will lead to 100,000 new cases of diabetes each year, not fast food or sugary drinks or poor diet, the weather. Horrifying research shows correlation between global warming and the rise in diabetes cases, she tweeted, including a link to Los Angeles Times story citing some study that makes the conclusion. The Times reported, if the average temperature rises by 1 degree Celsius, sea levels will rise, crop yields will fail, and vulnerable species will see their habitat shrink or disappear. And a new study suggests the number of American adults suffering from diabetes would rise by more than 100,000 a year. How allegedly educated people can be duped by some demonstrable nonsense defies belief. The impetus behind the study is this. A 2015 study of 8 adults, who had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes found that after they spent 10 days in moderately cold weather, they had improved metabolism and thus became more sensitive to insulin, which helped reverse key disease symptoms. And in a 2016 study, researchers claimed to have discovered a correlation between the outside ambient temperature and blood sugar measurement. When temperatures were higher, so too was the blood sugar. Well, these two findings led Dutch researchers to ponder whether climate change might be partially responsible for the rise in worldwide diabetes cases from 108 million in 1980 to 422 million by 2014, using Centers for Disease Control data on the prevalence of diabetes in all 50 states between 1996 and 2013, and average temperature data for the state during the same period obtained from the National Centers for Environmental Information. They concluded that higher average temperatures in a particular time and place, the Times noted, the higher the age-adjusted incidence of diabetes. That's it. Climate change has to be the culprit, and all of this from just 1 degree Celsius temperature increase. That's just utterly amazing. Never mind the dramatic rise in obesity during the same period, which the researchers claim to have factored in. Nope, it's warmer temperatures that are causing more diabetes. Now, mind you, these researchers discuss their findings from the standpoint that human-caused global warming, climate change, is already settled when it's not. So their minds, humans are essentially causing an increase in cases of diabetes because we are affecting global weather patterns and making the earth hotter. Chelsea Clinton is not stupid, and neither are the researchers who did these studies, but the manner in which they come to their conclusions is flawed because they are based on a falsehood. It very well may be that higher incidence of diabetes is seen in regions where even slightly warmer average temperatures exist, but that doesn't prove that humans are the cause of the warming, and it does not rule out other possibilities, like maybe people spending more time outdoors indulging in bad eating and drinking habits in the warmer weather. We just don't know. But we do know that so much of the data has been faked that it's impossible to take conclusions like these at face value, or the people who push them. So there you have it. Off of Liberty Headlines, it says, DEA stole $3.2 billion from innocent people in 10 years. A bombshell report from the Inspector General at the Department of Justice has exposed the Drug Enforcement Administration for the colossal thieves that they are. According to the report, DEA seized more than $4 billion in cash from people since 2007, but $3.2 billion of the seizures were never connected to any criminal charges. That figure does not even include the seizure of cars and electronics. This thievery is possible through the insidious practice of civil asset forfeiture, where law enforcement can seize cash and property on the mere suspicion of being involved in criminal activity. Originally developed in 1980s to go after organized crime, CAF has mushroomed into a source of revenue for cops across the country, from local to state to federal, in what's become known as policing for profit. When an innocent person's cash is stolen by the DEA, that person must petition to get it back, meaning the burden of proof and the burden of time and expense is on the unlucky victim who never did anything wrong in the first place. In fact, forfeiture proceedings start from the presumption of guilt. Scheme, and DEA knows it. The IG found that petitions were filed in only 20% of DEA cash seizures. As Reason Magazine points out, the IG report highlights just how arbitrary these seizures can be. Off BizPac Review. It says, Professor proudly punishes student with lower grade for using the word mankind. A professor decreased a student's grade on a paper for using the word mankind. An English professor at Northern Arizona University lowered the grade of one of her students, Kellen Jeffers, for using mankind instead of a gender-neutral term, as reported by Campus Reform. I would be negligent as a professor who is running a class about human condition and the assumptions we make about being human if I did not also raise the issue of gendered language and ask my student to respect the need for gender-neutral language, said Scott. The word we use, the words we use matter very much, or else teachers would not be making an issue of this at all. And the MLA would not be making recommendations for gender-neutral language at the national level. The English professor told Jeffers that she would allow the student to revise her paper. I will respect your choice to leave your decision choices as is and to make whatever political and linguistic statement you want to make by doing so, wrote the professor. By the same token, I will still need to subtract a point because of your choice will not be made in the letter or spirit of this particular class, which is all about having you and other students look beneath your assumptions and understanding that mankind does not mean all people to all people. It positively does not. Scott had previously instructed the students to use gender-neutral language, telling them to use humankind instead of mankind, according to Jeffers. The student was not certain whether the professor was serious and decided to test the rule in a subsequent essay, only to have her grade docked. The professor justified the policy by stating that the American Psychological Association and the Modern Language Association are also encouraging gender-neutral language. Can't make this stuff up. The next one we have is off of BizPack Review. It says, college president infuriates BLM, rejects their demands. This is what white supremacy looks like. Black Lives Matter student activists were enraged with their college president following a meeting between the two parties Wednesday, insisting that interaction was white supremacy, patriarchy, and that the president should not have his job. The College of William and Mary's BLM movement, named Built on Our Backs, issued a demand to President W. Taylor Revelry III in a live stream of the meeting to their Facebook page. The demands included a 10-year diversity position, a required social justice course, an Africana Studies department, a zero tolerance policy for racism, the hiring of more staff for William and Mary Center for Student Diversity, an emphasis on recruiting Black students, and more employment and retention of Black faculty. President Revelry took issue with the nature of the group's speech, suggesting that they try requests or suggestions instead of demands. I don't deal in demands, he said. I don't make demands of other people, and I don't expect to receive demands from people. I love to get suggestions, recommendations, and strong arguments. The student activists weren't pleased, and there is video in this if you want to see these kids act up. It says, isn't it sad that the basis of our platform for BLM's 10 demands is better education, namely required education in Black history? Demana Denny, a William and Mary student and former intern at the U.S. Department of Education, wrote on Facebook. It's sad that we still have to justify ourselves and our collective history, that this college was built on our backs, and we still have to fight for our stories to be heard. He felt the need to validate the humanity of former African-American male colleague of his by prefacing his story with, he was handsome, great work, good guy, and the like, and did not see this as a microaggression, she continued. Then he also detailed a long list of complaints about the president on Facebook, saying this man should not be president of our college. You can effectively go to William and Mary for 4 years, even 5 years, never take a course in Africana, for example, never take a course that is non-Western thought, and I feel that this is very important, that is required, Dent said in the meeting. In response, Revelry noted that William and Mary has a chief diversity officer, but the BLM group demanded a tenured faculty member, detailing that they would like a vice provost of diversity and inclusion, and citing that other Virginia schools, such as the University of Virginia, have such an officer. Marcus L. Martin, UVA's Vice President and Chief Officer for Diversity and Equity, earned $338,800 in the year 2015 through 2016 academic year. I've got color too, I'm white, Revelry said at one point. Sir, you're white. With all due respect, West replied, moving to leave until another student started speaking. The Daily Caller News Foundation reached out to Dendy, West, and President Revelry, but received a reply from only the president, in which he stated that he appreciated the student's recommendation. William and Mary has been working hard on racial issues, Revelry said. Over the past year, actions include increased efforts and funding to recruit more diverse faculty, naming 2 resident halls for people of color, training for faculty and staff, and additional staffing for Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Our administration office continues to seek a diverse student body. While we have made progress, there remains much to be done. Racial discrimination at William & Mary is flatly unacceptable. We have a role to play to ensure that our university is a place where everyone is welcome and respected, and where we can learn from each other. William & Mary has above average ethnic diversity for students, according to College Factual. While its student body has a little over 7% blacks, whites comprise less than 60%. The school has average faculty ethnic diversity with almost 14% blacks and nearly 74% whites. The next one is off of BizPac Review. Look out! Berkeley College Republicans announce Ann Coulter as spring speaker. Yes, Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter is scheduled to speak at the University of California, Berkeley in April, nearly 3 months following the riots that canceled Milo Yiannopoulos' talk. Berkeley College Republican and BridgeCal will bring the conservative author to campus to discuss illegal immigration, reports the Daily Californian. The speech has been planned as a response to separate illegal immigration speaker series organized by BridgeCal. The Berkeley College Republicans and BridgeCal could bring someone better than Ann Coulter, said Caden Nason, membership vice president for the Berkeley Democrats, in an email obtained by the Daily Californian. Her claims have been disproven over and over again, and she's just another conservative sensationalist. I think this just contributes to the idea that BCR is more interested in headlines than anything else. Coulter's address will include a lengthy question and answer session. We're very optimistic in that we believe that the facilitation of discourse between Ann Coulter and the students is going to happen, BridgeCal co-president Pranav Janahaya told the Daily Californian. Students will be able to challenge Ann Coulter and what she believes. Maria Escovet, UC Berkeley law lecturer and former advisor to President Bill Clinton, will serve as the liberal counterpart to Coulter, according to Janahaya. Amos, a spokesman for the Berkeley College Republicans, praised the choice of Coulter. There's definitely a void in conservative thought at UC Berkeley, he told the Daily Californian. Coulter is tentatively scheduled to speak Thursday, April the 27th. Her talk comes nearly 3 months following the riots that prevented Milo Yiannopoulos from speaking. During those riots in February, masked members of Antifa and others broke windows, chucked smoke bombs, and started fire outside the building in which Yiannopoulos was scheduled to speak. Next one is off of BizPac Review. Of writing a clear sentence, Tucker rips professor who was appalled soldier given first-class seat. Fox News host Tucker Carlson couldn't understand it when a professor wanted to vomit after witnessing a first-class airline passenger giving up his seat for an American soldier. After hearing his incoherent replies, Carlson still doesn't. Drexel University professor George Cecilio Mayer observed on social media that he was trying not to vomit or yell about Mosul when passenger traded his first-class seat for that of a soldier seated in coach. He began by saying that it was really irresponsible to support wars that result in deaths of U.S. military and foreign civilians. But you're blaming the soldier, you're not blaming the policymaker, Carlson pointed out. Why is it bad to give them a first-class seat? He repeated. Somebody's trying to be nice to a guy who's going through all these hardships, and that makes you mad? Why? Ciriello Maurer continued with the claim that military need real support, including adequate health care, but that someone giving up a seat, he believes, was an empty gesture. This still made little sense to Carlson, but apparently obfuscation was the professor's forte. Carlson read out a long, rambling 58-word sentence that Ciriello Maurer wrote about Venezuela in an academic publication. You're not capable of writing a clear sentence, Carlson blurted out, calling it crap and high school writing and childlike. Carlson asked, is your scholarship serious? Complained the Fox News host was digging deep to come up with that. You're not an impressive scholar, is all I'm saying, the former editor-in-chief for the Daily Caller said. You're a performance artist. The professor said that all the Fox News host had done was to demonstrate that he was capable of using Google, but just as Cirillo Maurer was incapable of making a point, he also missed a point. I went through a lot of different essays that you wrote, Carlson said, and I've got an IQ above room temperature, and I couldn't understand any of them. That seemed to raise Cirillo Maurer's hackles. If your entire shtick is to come on here and say you can't understand basic English and basic 58 words is a basic sentence now? The only writing that I read by you that I can understand clearly are your tweets, Carlson said, and they seem to be designed to shock people, to get attention. It seems, again, a species of performance art and not scholarship. After a go-round on free speech, Carlson observed that Cirillo Maurer protected his soldier vomit tweet to prevent the public from seeing it immediately after he sent it out. If you're proud of what you think and can defend what you think, the Fox News host wondered. The professor pretended that he didn't hear the question and once again launched into a free speech argument. Okay, I've got to go, Carlson finally said. 3 months earlier, Cirillo Maurer tweeted that all he'd wanted for Christmas was white genocide, yet he's still employed. Next article is off BizPac Review. It says, police release horrifying video of home invaders ripping jewelry off an apparently unarmed woman. Sure to prove the good sense of our Second Amendment rights, police in Everett, Washington have released a frightening video of 2 home invaders breaking in and raiding a home as the terrified woman inside cries and screams in a bathroom. The break-in occurred in a town 30 miles north of Seattle, police report. The Snohomish County Sheriff's Office posted the shocking video to its YouTube page, asking the public for help identifying the criminals. The thugs appeared hesitant to break down the door at first, perhaps nervous the woman may have had a weapon, but with no sign of resistance, the 2 barged through with ease. 2 males broke into the occupied South Everett residence this morning, assaulting the female homeowner and ripping the jewelry off her before stealing other items and fleeing. And there's the video in this if you want to watch it. After trying the handle a few times, one of the thugs kicks the door down and both run in to accost the woman hiding inside. The terrorized homeowner screams are plainly heard on the video as the 2 punks yell at her. She was lucky, as that is the worst the 2 would do, but the incident could have gone much worse, as terrifying as it already was. Only one of the criminals is seen clearly in the photo, or on the video, and police would like help in finding him. If you can identify either of these suspects or have information about this incident, call Detective, and there's a phone number, 425-388-5258, the sheriff's office said. Off of BizPac Review, it says, Vimo bows to LGBT lobby, deletes Christian ministries videos where victims voluntarily go for help. On March the 24th, video sharing service Vimo Memory hold videos and closed the account of Pure Passion, a Christian ministry to homosexuals and others who seek to find healing from various forms of illness. According to the American Family Association, Pure Passion's videos have helped countless sexual victims, abuse victims, been sex trafficked, those who are addicted, or in any other condition that caused them distress. And yet, it's not so much Pure Vision's or Pure Passion's views about sex industry workers that's landing them in hot water here, but rather the fact that they have offended the powerful LGBT lobby, not by denigrating homosexuals, but by helping those who genuinely want to change. Essentially, Christians who believe that homosexuality is a sin, like countless others, that Jesus died for, can deliver people from, are not welcome on Vimeo. Period. Its Vimeo message is clear. If you have same-sex attractions, whatever their cause, you must embrace them, if not celebrate them. warrior logic used by Vimeo and others makes an extraordinarily broad assumption about gay people, doesn't it? While many homosexuals may very well be happy and content with their lives, to deny that there are those who genuinely desire to change, and to deny that people have changed and have been helped by Christian ministries like Pure Passion, would seem to be the height of bigotry. And yet, here we are with yet another example of speech suppression from the left. And part of a long back and forth with Pure Passion director and former homosexual Dr. David Kyle Foster, a Vimeo representative, explained their reasoning. To put it plainly, we don't believe that homosexuality requires a cure, and we don't allow videos on our platform that espouse this point of view. We also consider the basic viewpoint to display a demeaning attitude toward a specific group, which is something that we do not allow. Writes he, Foster, and Sean then engaged in a series of emails, but this was Vimeo's bottom line. They recognized that Foster's ministry was not overtly, however, referring to homosexuality as a dysfunction of sexual brokenness or sexual disorigin, nor is it reference to the fact that God can transform the life of anyone caught in homosexual confusion. Vimeo disagrees wholeheartedly with the notion that homosexuality is a form of brokenness or something that requires healing or something that people need to seek freedom from. The American Family Association believes that Vimeo is guilty of the very same intolerance that they claim Pure Passion has. The service has a long history of shutting down Christian accounts like Restored Hope and the National Association for Research and Therapy of Homosexuality that view homosexuality in a biblical light. They also seem happy to allow, letter to Dr. Brown, videos of terrorists and pornographers. While Vimeo is a private company and certainly free to do as they wish, Foster believes that the sharing service move is essentially nothing more than pure religious bigotry and censorship. Pure Passion Ministries is encouraging like-minded people to sign their petition encouraging Vimeo to restore the account of Dr. David Kyle Foster and Pure Passion, to express their opinion and subscribe to Pure Passion Still Working on YouTube. And there is some video in this if you'd like to pull it up and see it. The next article this is off of All Outdoor, and it says federal ammunition and Anacoa, I think it's how it's pronounced, Anacoa, plant layoffs. Federal ammunition personnel layoffs in their Anacoa, Minnesota plant. And this is in little teeny tiny print, so I need to blow it up a little bit bigger. Okay, breaking news out this week comes that Federal Premium Ammunition is laying off 110 workers at their Minnesota faculty. It is no secret, but the ironic one, that the guns and ammo industry a widespread downturn since the Trump election. Both wholesalers and dealers have reported slow sales. Prices on guns and ammo have been moderating or coming down since the election last November. The federal ammo manufacturing plant in Anacoa about 1,400 employed workers, but the layoff of 110 does signal that the company was recognizing the economic downturn in ammo sales. The company has also returned an expansion grant of $1 million back to the state. The $33 million plant expansion will continue, but the hiring requirements of the grant apparently cannot be met. This is not an unusual situation when any manufacturing facility has to cut back on production personnel, despite long-term plans to upgrade or expand production goals. Federal has plans to upgrade equipment with this factory expansion. Federal Ammunition is now a subsidiary of the Utah-based Vista Outdoor Incorporated. Formerly, Federal was part of the Alliant Technology Systems. Such changes in corporate ownership is also a regular practice among business entities as overall goals and objectives change or become refocused on other priorities. Since the November election, gun and ammunition buyers have felt less pressure to buy more guns and shooting supplies since a Republican was returning to the White House. Had Clinton won the election, there would have been an immediate boom in the industry, with consumers fearing more restrictive gun ownership or even outright confiscation legislation. Gun owners applauded Clinton's loss. Previous president's 8-year term, Obama's anti-gun agenda, earned him the recognition as America's greatest gun salesman. BATF had record purchase approval backups in their computer system, trying to wade through computer mounds of 4,473 paperwork. Remember, though, that manufacturing layoffs in all industry sectors is a fairly regular occurrence. The fact that Federal Premium Ammunition is readjusting their manufacturing capacity is probably just a short-term adjustment to fluctuations in the overall economy of the country. It's not sky falling. Signal panic in the arms and ammunition industrial complex. As per usual, the economy will adjust accordingly, and long-term quality companies like Federal will adjust with the times. As a word of encouragement, shooters across the country should be taking advantage of these short times to purchase more guns and ammo to shoot even more. And I couldn't agree with that more. This is not the time to rest on your laurels. Prep, prep, prep. Make sure you have your guns and ammo. The next one that we have, and I cannot make this stuff up. This is the clincher. And you'll appreciate that when I get into this. This is the clincher. This is the showstopper, and this is the last one of the day. This is off of com, and it says, stolen gun that fell from man's body cavity will be made safe and sanitary if the owner wants it back. I cannot make this stuff up. Lord have mercy. All right. Blowing this up big enough to read. Here we go. If the owner of a stolen pistol that was recovered from a Limestone County jail inmate's body cavity wants the gun back, Florence police say they'll make sure it's sanitized. The gun, which was stolen from Florence, was recovered by Limestone County authorities when it fell from inmate Jesse Roberts' body cavity during a search at the jail early Tuesday. Roberts, age 23, was being booked on a misdemeanor public intoxication charge when he stumbled and the gun fell to the ground, Limestone County Sheriff spokesman Stephen Young said. Florence Police Sergeant Brad Holmes said the gun, a .38 caliber Jimenez, is one of two stolen during a vehicle break-in on Christmas Eve. The break-in occurred on Sherrod Avenue in North Florence. The second stolen gun has not been located, Holmes said. Roberts, an Elkmont resident, is charged in Limestone County with fourth-degree receiving stolen property, but Holmes said investigators in Florence could bring additional charges. Our detectives have been in contact with investigators in Limestone County and are actively working in the case, Holmes told AL.com. Still no decision from the owner on what they would like done with the weapon, but we will ensure that it is safe and sanitary before it is released. The gun hasn't been transferred from Limestone County Sheriff's custody to Florence police. Roberts was arrested by deputies when they responded to a call about a prowler at a home on Easton Lane after midnight Tuesday. The caller found Roberts around his garage and held the suspect at gunpoint until the authorities arrived. Roberts was being held in the Limestone County Jail with bail set at $7,250. The charges against him also include first-degree promoting prison contraband and carrying a concealed weapon without a permit. Roberts is no stranger to local law enforcement. In 2014, he was sentenced to 2 years of probation for pleading guilty to possession of drug paraphernalia in Limestone County, court records show. A 1-year jail sentence was suspended pending his completion of probation. However, his probation later was revoked when he was arrested again, according to records. In November of 2015, he was sentenced again to 2 years of probation for pleading guilty to receiving stolen property, court records show. In that case, Roberts also was ordered to spend 1 year in jail. but that sentence was suspended pending successful completion of probation. The most serious charge Roberts currently faces is promoting prison contraband, a Class C felony. The maximum penalty is 10 years imprisonment. Oh my goodness. I mean, fell out of his body cavity. That is a clincher. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Share it on your social media so everybody gets to enjoy the entertainment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. That way you will stay not only informed, but entertained as well. Have a great day.